Hello and welcome back. My name's Jack Jennings and this is Sam West. He used to be my guitar student, but he's gone on and he's moved on and he's got his own life now. But he used to be my guitar student, and we've got together again to do these reaction videos, and we're showing each other things that maybe either of us don't know that much about. Like Sam's got a really great YouTube channel and he's done really cool, interesting videos about different things about equipment, or like modifying guitars, or like deep dive about like John Mayer's signature guitar, or things about the Jazz Master, different types of Fender guitars. So Sam's got a really interesting channel going on, and he's playing me different things which I don't know so much about. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play some like the original Indian classical guitar foray that John McLaughlin took in the 1970s, where he started playing Indian classical music, really carnatic South Indian classical music, on an acoustic guitar. And he's really the first person who actually could cut it with Indian classical musicians, who could handle like the rhythms and the speed and how that music really works. And he did it shockingly well, and no one else has ever done it as well as him. And Sam has never heard this. Like, he's heard me play Indian classical guitar, so that's a start, but John has got a different approach, and he's playing on acoustic here, so I'm pretty interested to see what Sam is going to make of this, because this is like a really crazy, jaw-dropping, fast. I mean, I'm giving it away, but even if I told you this is really crazy, you still just don't know what's going to happen, because anyone who has seen this, you know that Sam is about to be like, whoa, like what is this? So I'm going to really enjoy showing Sam this kind of thing.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, right, here we go.
Yeah, let's check it out.
1976, shot on old film, so just, bit of a time capsule. Okay. So first impressions.
Wow. I mean, first off, I love the filming style of like the crazy like camera.
Yeah, it's a bit like
like
old fashioned.
Zooming in on everything is like kind of reflects the like franticness of the music.
Yeah,
and, the intensity. But yeah, wow, that's wild. The speed on an acoustic guitar to be able to play like that is And what's the story? What does the scalloped frets do for you in a
yeah, it makes it easier to bend,
right, okay.
Especially on an acoustic guitar. You can't really bend much on an acoustic, but with the scalloped frets you can kind of get more over the top of the strings,
right, okay.
So you can bend up as well, but you can also bend down much more effectively, because you can kind of get around the string over the top. And it's got a certain feel, and I think they sound a little bit different too. But that was a really customized guitar that we had made, and it's got cross strings as well, which are supposed to be really for like sympathetic resonance, but I don't really hear that much sympathetic resonance from them. But he uses them sometimes to strum on, so sometimes you hear this kind of like sort of like harp kind of.
So that's kind of other strings tuned into a chord at the.
You tune into a scale,
right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think he would have tuned it into a scale. He probably just experimented, different tracks and stuff. But he had to get out like a piano tuner to change it. So between the pieces, he had to tune, because you can see at the beginning, they look very kind of. It's a funny beginning actually, because they looked very relaxed on stage. And Indian classical musicians, they always just take their time when they come on stage. They come on and they check the instruments and they tune, and then they just kind of like. Everything is like takes its time.
Yeah. I mean, even when I went to see you play a few months ago, it was the same. It kind of it's very relaxed, and then kind of musical journey begins, and it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's no sort of like bursting onto stage like ta. But it's funny. Like I don't even see them count each other in, because at the moment. I mean, the camera work is not very good in that part, because the cameras are. I mean, if we I don't know if I can find that part, because they're just sort of looking. Yeah, you can see here. There's no indication that they're about to start playing. John's not even. He hasn't got his hands on the guitar, and he's just looking down. No one's counting, and then the camera sort of zooms in on the tabla player's knee or foot or something like that, and then suddenly they just like whip into the.
Maybe that was maybe his foot was the signal. Maybe.
Maybe a little like toe twitch. Maybe, I don't know. That'd be a very like Indian thing to do. I don't know. But I mean, we jump back to 2 minutes 20 to 2 minutes 30 to see the rest. But if you just again see from here, and then bam, then they just suddenly come in, and
so in sync, and then
they really had this like crazy telepathy, the Shakti band, they're just totally nuts. But I mean, to play like this is all through composed, this first part, because the violin and the guitar are playing in unison. So everything. This is typical of South Indian classical music. They're very, very long themes, and they're very, very complex. But particularly with Shakti, they really took that to a really high level. Very, very long, complicated melodies that they play in unison. And now they're about to go into the solos, but very, very difficult to play. And on acoustic guitar, he's not cutting any corners. Like you can see, like every note he's picking every single note. Of course, on acoustic guitar, I mean, you could maybe do a few pull-offs and hammer-ons here. Yeah, I'm sure you could. But he's got this thing of just being like totally on it, with every single note being plucked, and they're unusual combinations of string changes as well. So they're really tough. All right, so let's carry on. It's just getting started, really. Those cross strings he did for the harp strum. way he digs in, you know.
Yeah, and like the dynamic changes in his playing.
Yeah.
It's like he's not even really thinking about what he's doing. He's just looking around, smiling.
I know. Yeah. Oh. No, I just love his vibe so much. Like he's, you know, the way he's looking around and smiling. It just, I mean, the piece is called Joy, but John McLaughlin is just so, you know, he's just so joyful. Like I remember always, you know, looking at interviews of John McLaughlin when I was younger and seeing him and just his whole essence. I just kind of thought, yeah, like that's the life that I want to live, you know. Like I just felt like he's just on this incredible journey that's just, he's just like loving what he's doing and he's so creatively involved, you know. I just feel like he's just so like he just sounds so passionate and so happy. And he's a very, like, I mean, last time we were talking about John Mayer, and John McLaughlin is, I mean, I think John Mayer really likes John McLaughlin. I think he's like influenced by him. But McLaughlin is a much more technically rooted player, and his main thing that he's really passionate about it's a very kind of technical pursuit. You know, the guy is it's a very physical thing. Like he's really inspired by that feeling of like his fingers, you know, moving through the patterns and how he's picking and he's always breaking a sweat. It's like he's always working so hard. The thing I get with John McLaughlin. I mean, there's times when there's other players who are, you know, just kind of breeze through stuff. Whereas for John, you feel like he's kind of like, he's kind of fighting it a bit. But I always just find that's just really engaging. And,
I agree, and I think that there's so much subtlety in what he's doing, and even, you know, like he's playing incredibly fast lines, but there's, you know, even big changes in the dynamics as he's playing, and you know that there's still, although it's technically incredibly proficient and fast, there's enough change. He's not just shredding basically. You know, there's really something you know, captivating about watching it, because it isn't just look how fast this is. It's got so much kind of, I mean, I guess like emotion and build and dropping in and out and you know how improvised and how
very improvised.
Really, so because all of the musicians, how they it seems like they've got this unbelievable chemistry and their ability to follow each other and
absolutely. Yeah, that's the magic of Shakti. I mean, you find that, I mean, the thing about Indian classical music is that it's kind of, it's at a high level, or even a medium to high level, it's kind of normal for people to just follow each other and to be really in sync. And it's like a genre where anyone who's anyone is just a master improviser. Like that, it's just the normal thing. Everyone's just amazing with improvisation and self-expression, and that's just like, you can't do anything in Indian classical music if you're not amazing at improvising and have like nuances, and you can't only just be technical, you have to have the motive, like expressive side as well. So that's kind of just like, just to operate in this field, you need that. But particularly with the Shakti group, they just had this crazy connection that like more than your average group, even in this field. And the tabla player is Zakir Hussain. And I just have to name him here just because he went on to be the most famous Indian classical musician in the whole world. I mean, you've got Ravi Shankar, but the next most famous musician is really, there are lots of others, of course, Vilayat Khan, Ali Akbar Khan, Hari Prasad Jairezia. But Zakir Hussain is really like the biggest name in Indian classical music who's still around. And he's a tabla player. So that's a really, really big deal for tabla players because they're always like seen as like less important as the melody players.
Right.
But he really became like the big superstar tabla player, and him and John McLaughlin still work together now,
awesome.
even though they're like in their 80s. And I think Jacques is in his 70s actually. He's looking immaculate. Still looks really, really good. John looks great as well. He's about 82 or something like that. But they always had an amazing connection, and then the other guys they're playing with too. So yeah, this is just the Shakti world. It's like the people that know this band, it's like their favorite band. You know, if you're into this kind of thing, there's nothing better. So let's continue.
What happened there?
I was just saying watch. I was just saying like watch this bit because he's about to do something really crazy. Let's go back to
I thought like a string snapped or something. Like the way he suddenly put his hand away like that.
Yeah, but he does this thing. It's like he's just kind of suddenly like just kind of starts flapping around on like his low string as if he's kind of just like kind of trying to like get something out of his hand. I don't know. Like I said, he's got a really visceral. It's almost like he just needed to just. Shake his hand just to kind of. But then he does this crazy run that just goes like all the way up the neck, and that's what I was pointing at.
Okay.
This bit. This would be the best violin solo you've ever heard. just like the happiest guy in the world. Just playing with each other.
Yeah.
Go on. Just explain a little bit that this guy L. Shankar, in South India they have crazy long first names, so people just know him as L. Shankar because his first name is like 10 syllables long or something like that. So he's playing the violin, and the violin is actually really common in South Indian music.
Yeah, I was gonna say how because you wouldn't as someone who's never really looked into Indian music, you wouldn't assume that would be kind of in the repertoire of the genre, but it's common.
It is in South India, and they've really taken it on, and they believe that the violin was originally an Indian instrument.
Oh wow!
And that they think that it then sort of travelled because they have something that's very similar. They've got a few instruments that are actually very similar. Sarangi, different types of sarangi, dilruba, which are bowed. So they do have bowed instruments, and they can trace it to different variants of the instrument that kind of move into like the Middle East through Persia and then to Eastern Europe, and then in the gypsies, and particularly in Bulgaria and Romania. They've got incredible violinists in that, and in that culture, that tradition, they've got violinists like you just would not believe. And then it translates, and it gradually comes through and then becomes the instrument that came in through the Renaissance period or the medieval. I'm not sure exactly when the violin actually, because we feel like it's been there forever, that kind of classical shape of the violin, of that body, I don't know exactly when that first came. I think in the medieval era you see instruments that are kind of similar. Instruments back there were very ornate as well. And then I think more in the Renaissance period, and because you're going Renaissance and then into the sort of Baroque period where even then they had slightly different instruments, and then by the classical era and romantic era they were more kind of more modern standard that they still are today. But they look at that and say, well, actually, we'll quite happily take this instrument on because actually this is originally an Indian instrument, and because it's fretless, it's just perfect for what they do, gliding between the notes, and because Indian music is really based on vocal. So the training is done vocally, and they have vocal style and instrumental style. So even if you're playing an instrument, you can be doing it in vocal style.
Interesting.
So everything that you're playing is derived from vocal repertoire, and you're just putting it on your instrument. And then there's instrumental style, which is what he's doing, more instrumental style, because he's playing off the techniques of that specific instrument. So he's playing with bowing techniques and fingering techniques. So it's inspired by the instrument, but it's still always got a very strong vocal essence. Every Indian classical musician always has a vocal basis to what they're doing. But you can see the way that he holds it. He's got the head of the violin actually like on his foot. So he's they're sat down, and the head of the violin is down there. He's in his foot, and then resting against his his breastbone here somewhere. So the violin is actually like floating, and so he's playing the bowing like this, and the hand is going like up and down the neck. So rather than it being held out here, where you've got to sort of like support the violin, so he's actually got so much freedom to move up and down.
Really interesting.
I mean, I think he's probably the most like, in a sense, he's the most like sort of free natural, he's like a expression of nature, that this guy, like the first, I've never heard someone just so, I don't know, it's just like it's like a bird or something. He's just so free on his instrument. I've never heard anyone else quite like him. Yeah.
And even the amount of fun you can see they're having on stage, and to play be at that level of playing and musicianship, and then to be like joking around and doing that sort of stuff, it's just it's mind blowing. It's
so funny, isn't it? Because there's moments when they're like playing like and then he's kind of like, and it's like, no, I'm going to wait for you to do it now. And then they're like, it's like they're so safe that they're not trying to like, oh, let's make sure we stick together, and like they're actually like, well, come on, let's just see if we can.
Exactly,
like,
pushing the limits.
What if I trip you up? And that's just like when you're so relaxed and confident. It's just like, what, it just doesn't matter, does it? And I love then, and then as soon as this is the thing I always found nuts about Indian musicians, is that they can be playing and the time just kind of stops, and then one of them just starts playing fast again, but then just continues playing fast, and then everyone just completely falls into that tempo. It'd be like, in an average sort of, like rock or blues band, if the guitar player just suddenly started playing super fast, the band wouldn't necessarily just kind of be like, bam, okay, I know where you are. But the way that they're hearing the rhythms, like like they're the tabla player is thinking in the same way. So as soon as the violin starts going, into one of those connections of phrases, there's like, bam, it's like they can hear where the time is, even if they're just going, what sounds like completely nuts. They can hear all the different units of the phrases. Yeah. I think that was planned, though. Yeah. The theme again. Yeah, now they'll do a bit of call and response. Yeah, and he's playing the gatam, which is like a clay pot. It's called Viku Vinayakra. I just gotta say, like, I just love John McLaughlin's vibe. Like, I don't get it with anyone else. When he plays fast, I feel it like I feel it in my body when he play, and I feel like he's feeling it. I don't know.
I was just
with some musicians, it's like, no, but I know what you're feeling. Like I feel like I've got the same thing. Like I'm feeling what he's feeling.
I was literally just thinking when he was playing some of those lines and you could see his face. It was almost as if he was like speaking in the sense that his facial expressions would be like. As if he's explaining something to someone or asking someone a question. Like you can, it's as if the music is coming out of his mouth and you've got all the same facial expressions as you would if you were just having a conversation.
It's conversational.
But that's awesome, and I love the phrases where he starts he kind of starts with a big bend and then immediately goes into, I don't know if that's like a really typical.
It's typical for him in this period because he didn't play like that, and from the 80s, 90s, his playing's changed like over the decades. It's at its most in the last 10, 15 years or so. It's actually been at its most complex. It's got increasingly chromatically complex with more and more like kind of jazz bebop lines. Like he was always a jazz bebop player in the beginning, but he's become more and more like super complex with like just all the different twists and turns of like his like fingering dexterity is just nuts. On this stuff, it's actually a more pattern. Kind of it's quite pentatonic-y, a lot of it. It's like a pentatonic, but with like throwing like a flat 2 in there, but it's mostly a pentatonic. And these are very like visceral, and he doing like bam, like, he always does that thing like massive bend at the beginning, bam. So. But he after that guitar, like he plays like the dynamic stuff he was doing earlier as well. I never really heard him play like that on a different guitar, because this guitar got destroyed somehow. Like he lent it to someone, and then I don't know, it got weather damaged or something happened to the guitar. Maybe it got it got exposed to different climates or something like that. But apparently, when he got the guitar back off someone. Like I don't know, something had gone wrong with it, and it had all fallen apart. But in the interview he just did with Paul Reed Smith is asking him about it, and Paul Reed Smith was like, "Well, give me the guitar, I'll fix it." Like, and Paul was like, "Oh, I'd love that. That'd be fun. I want to," and he was like, "Oh man, I don't know. It's like it's on someone's wall, you know." But yeah, it just. They kind of got destroyed. But my point is that he plays on this Shakti guitar in a way that I never really heard him play. Yeah. Again, he always played differently.
That's interesting.
But yeah, just the way that he picks and then just plays through, I just find it really no other fast guitar player gets me in that like it's like I can just feel it like in my heart when he's playing. So yeah, we're almost there, guys. They've sped up as well since the beginning. Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it's just like so much stamina. I mean, they're all they all must have incredible stamina. But I think as guitar players, we just look at that on an acoustic guitar, and we just think, God, like that takes some serious drive.
Yeah, 14 minutes of playing like that is that is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty like unstoppable, really, and but you know, because he's just got a very like kind of like intense, like kind of like the way that he's playing is very like, you know, he's not doing like that. He's not doing it in kind of like in an economical way. You know, he's doing it in a really kind of like rough, you know. But actually, he has got very light gauge strings on that guitar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but just looking at the bends and stuff like that, I thought it must, you know, to be able to play like that for that long and to be able to bend like that on an acoustic.
Yeah, he does have light gauge strings. They're only they're like tens on there or something like that. Yeah. So, but it's weird that they sound that good.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how the guitar must be made in the right way. Because if you put tens on a regular acoustic guitar, they sound absolutely terrible. So
do you think so? Presumably it's a wound G string, and it would be tens, but probably with a wound G string.
I think it's actually an unwound G string.
Really?
Because I've got one on an acoustic guitar, and it sounds more like what he sounds like. So I think it's unwound.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, he had a luthier who made it for him. I think he worked for Gibson or something like that. And he had a prototype. He had at least 2 or maybe 3 of them. So I think that they figured out how to get it right. But it's a unique sound. But the way but even with the light strings, it's like the way that he's playing, and you can hear the pick attack. That, you know, and he's often playing on the low strings actually, because the violin's playing higher. When he's playing most of the theme, he's actually playing on the low strings. So even if they're lighter gauges, he'll still be playing on like, you know, some like a 36 or 26 or something down there. So, you know, so it's not easy. You know, the lighter strings.
Not,
But so that was a bit of a crazy long video journey into Shakti, and I mean I've heard this loads of times, but it still just completely makes me feel a bit disorientated every time I hear it. It just feels like you're checking into a different reality, I hope Sam is still still feeling like his feet are on the ground and that he's still with us. We've just taken him deep into Shakti land. Thanks so much for watching, and check out Sam's channel. Sam's doing some really, really great stuff. Check out my guitar lesson programs if you want to learn about Indian classical music or like lead guitar techniques in general. Check that out. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.